This is so difficult. Have you muted me? Have you muted me? You have. Yeah. 1 minute. 1 minute. That's 1 minute. And welcome in, everybody. Welcome to another live stream. Hey.
All right. We are live.
Everybody's live. Is everybody live?
We are all live, ladies and gentlemen. Brothers of the Serpent, UnchartedX, first stream of the new year.
I hope that worked.
Welcome to 2025.
Yes, welcome to 2025, everybody. Happy New Year to you guys as well.
Happy New Year,
Happy
man.
New Year, bro. Yeah.
Over there in Tejas. Yes, we are attempting the
We're crossing the streams.
Previously undone before. Yes, the what'd you say? The Kraken streams? Or
We're crossing the streams.
we are crossing the streams. Yes, we're trying to go live on both channels. So that was an involved little countdown for a minute there.
Yeah.
I hope you guys can hear us. I am looking at my levels. It looks like you can hear everybody, hopefully on stream. Otherwise, let me know in the comment if there's anything up with the audio. Thank you for everyone.
Oh, I had feedback. Oh, crap. It's because
no.
Oh, well.
We fixed it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thanks everyone for joining us on this one. We got an interesting stream ahead, I think. We've got a few topics we're going to talk about, particularly Turkey. I've been diving into the mysteries of places like Nemrut and Sogmatar recently, and I know Russ has long had interest in things like the Ruts and Phrygian Valley.
Yes. Absolutely. There's not a whole lot. We'll get into this later. It's interesting. I couldn't find, and I haven't been able to find, maybe people in the chat, if you guys know anything, like point me to some actual scientific papers on this stuff out in the Phrygian Valley. But we'll show some pictures and talk about it later. But last time Kyle and I streamed, we talked about his experiences when you guys were scanning in Egypt. And Ben, you were there. You wanna talk about that a little bit? What did you think of that?
I do, yeah. So what we thought we'd do before we dive into the Turkey stuff is give a quick update on the Vase scan.
Yes.
Basically, the scanning project. It started, probably most people know it as the Vase scan project, but it's become a bit of a broader scanning project, I guess. It's a topic that both of us had interest in for quite a while. Kind of began with some of the LiDAR scans and photogrammetry that's been happening over the past few years, and it's progressed to the point where, Adam Young and Alex Dunn and these guys got that first vase scanned properly, and that showed, there's all this precision on it. And as that came out, it evolved into this just open sourced kind of people jumping into it left, right, and center. Matt Bell got involved, bought a bunch of vases. He's had them scanned. Carolee is out there with the Ancient Technology podcast, and he's an engineer, and he's got himself a $15,000 scanner. Carolee, yep. Shout out to Carolee. Check out his channel. He's definitely talked about some of this stuff. But long story short, I mean, there's a lot of what's the word? There's a lot of weight behind this now, a lot of inertia behind this project. And one of the things that happened recently, this was only a couple of weeks back in December, we were in Egypt, and we managed to get on a few sites and do some scanning of things, which was super interesting. I will pull up some pictures, Kyle, if you want to talk about some of the stuff we were doing while we were there, because it was epic.
Yeah, started out at the Serapeum, got there before daybreak, which is really awesome. What sort of like
it was, yeah.
First light, no one there, got to go in there, and then, I mean, really, we what we learned, I would say, is we could spend a whole week there easily. because
Yeah.
we both, like, I was doing photogrammetry on one box. But I don't even know how that's going to turn out. It just proved to be quite difficult. The lighting situation is tough to deal with.
We may have a second chance.
Yeah.
Maybe. And then
maybe.
I wasn't present for any of the scanning in the Serapeum, but I kind of heard it was a similar situation where they got to get like some pieces, like some corners, inside corners but nothing whole. So
Right.
you'll be able to analyze these inside corners and see, well, how perpendicular are these walls to each other? How flat are the surfaces? But of course, you can't check it across the entire artifact. It would just take a lot more time to scan an entire box. It's a very involved process.
Well, they're giant. I mean, that's the problem. I mean, a lot of these scanners,
You
particularly
need
the
scaffolding.
you do need, you actually do need scaffolding to even get on top of it, like to stand up high enough to get the lid and everything too.
Yeah.
But it's one of the limitations of, I mean, it's amazing that the technology's progressed to the point where you can have structured light scanners, things that, and you're talking resolution, like at best, most of these sensors are like 0.02 of a millimeter, which is about a little under 1,000th of an inch, I believe. Is that right? It's a 20, yeah, so it's 25
I think
microns.
so. Yeah,
It's about 20
millimeter.
microns, and there's 25 microns in a thou, so it's about 20 micron.
I think that's right.
Yeah, about a thou, a little under. But it's amazing you can even get these things to be relatively handheld and portable as it is. It's really only been the last year.
Yeah.
Because prior to that, all of these things were really only available in like a fixed location. You had to bring artifacts to them, and they were on arms, and you had to set it all up and do this stuff. But now you can actually get these things and have them be relatively mobile. But one of the restrictions is you're limited to a couple of meters at best in terms of object. And when you're looking at Serapeum boxes like 5 meters long, it's just not going to be able to have that much data. And you need a
So what were you
computer
telling
to run with it.
You were in the chat when we were talking about this on our last live stream, and you were like, "Nope, it's not the scanner, it's the software." So, what is the deal with the software and the limitations there?
Yeah,
So it wasn't the laptop.
It's not the
yeah,
laptop. It's
yeah.
not the power of the laptop.
I was like, "That
Right,
laptop is a piece of crap."
It was really not a piece of crap. Because this was us going into. This is cool. This is like you guys can see this. This was.
Oh, I'll have to switch over to.
Yeah, let us switch to it.
Switch to the video file. Ben's video share at the top.
There we go. All right.
Yeah, so I played. This is walking into the Serapeum. This is like pre-dawn into the Serapeum, which I just thought was damn cool. We're hanging out the front, in the darkness, getting into the Serapeum super early in the morning. Here we had was like it had 128 gig of RAM. It had like the latest RAM. It had like the latest NVIDIA mobile graphics card in it, the GPU. I mean, it was a beefy. I know Adam spent a bunch of money on it, and it's the software. So the software is really not optimized for this sort of thing. It takes forever for it to actually generate a little point cloud afterwards. There's a lot of waiting around. It's just not very well optimized at this point. So, and because in the in these lab settings, people don't care about time. You can go and get a coffee or whatever while it sits there and crunches all the data. But it's it'd be nice if it just collected the data and you could do things like, well, let's crunch it later. Like let's worry about creating point clouds later on, rather than sitting here for 5 minutes while it does its thing for each little section. Just focus on getting the data, take it away, and then you can do the processing of it, stuff like that. And trying to scan multiple areas of an artifact and then stitch them together, those sort of algorithms are a little challenging. The software is just generally not particularly well optimized as yet, but that's a solvable problem. I think.
Yeah.
I think that it'll get better. But in we went, which was cool. Let me skip forward a bit.
The video is still a little bit jumpy for us, but
It's not
The
too
video's
bad,
a little
but
jumpy.
Yeah.
Not too bad. Okay.
I
Well,
mean,
we can
it's-
look at the pictures as well.
it's total
so-
crap.
It's total crap. Oh
It's
yeah,
not-
so we did. This was a special permission, so they did open up the back area, so we
Oh,
got
yeah.
to play with.
I never even went. I just took a left. I went all the way to box.
You didn't go in
22.
here?
No, I just went straight to the box with the writing on it and started the photogrammetry.
Started photogrammetry.
And basically worked on that until they started yelling at me to get out. So
This is the problem. We're going to run off top. I'm already off topic here because I'm looking at this thing here and I'm like, this is really interesting because this is one of the granite steles. This is
Yeah,
the
the
only one left.
false door.
It's the only false door that's left in the Serapeum, and this place had them all over the place. No, they don't keep the lights on 24/7. They they turn them on for us when we came in there. The keepers are obviously there. They turn the lights on. But yeah, so these false doors are in all, two sides in all the alcoves. Anyway, let me stop the sharing.
So you don't think that is it possible that these things are added in much later?
Sure.
These big slabs. You think these are original?
I think they're original. Okay. Yes, because, and I'll tell you why. Because one, this is that false door shape goes back to the very earliest of times. Yeah. These are big slabs of granite. And if you look at the renovation work that's happened in the Serapeum, like in all the alcoves where you have these big alcoves and in the sides where you have these indentations where these steles were, all of that, in most cases, the tiling, the later renovation, the tiling and the limestone, probably the stuff done in the 26th dynasty, it goes into those alcoves. So those pieces of granite were probably already missing at that point.
Mm.
So these seem to be like original features that they were just tiling over them, and it's covering them up. And I have the sense like this is just pie in the sky. I mean, not pie in the sky, but my intuition around this stuff is if these boxes were functional, I think that whatever function, it had something to do with these false door shapes that were just sort of focused on these boxes. In all the big alcoves, they're like two giant granite steles with these false door shapes aimed at these alcoves, at these boxes.
Yeah.
And, you go into some chambers with these shapes in them and they help to create standing waves. I don't know. It's just, they're usually unadorned. There's no writing on them. They're quarried. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're original. So I'm going to switch back to the meeting. Anyway, I can also share some...
Well, I didn't have any footage of how the scanning went in the Serapeum. Do you have any of that real quick?
I do, yeah. Screens, let's see, where's my... Yeah, at least some pictures of it. Like, here we go. There's So, yeah, this is like inside the blown up box. See that?
So I call this the Dunn box. This is the box that Chris Dunn, one of the boxes that Chris Dunn measured, and it's the only one that the lid was never moved off of it. Technically, right. I mean, there was a hole blown in the side of it, but technically speaking, this lid is still in situ.
Yes. Yes, the one that it might have shifted a bit with the blast, but
but
so this was
limited amount. I mean, compared to the others that are moved 4 or 5 feet,
Yeah. So it's interesting. So we got in there, we did some of that. Interesting. We looked outside. I'm like, what are they doing? This is over at Sakari. You can see like this is like Abu Sir over here, and I'm like, there's a fleet of earth moving equipment out here. What the hell are they doing now?
What are they doing?
Wow.
Out in the desert. Because this is all connected, right? This is Sakari. You can see Abu Sir pyramids in the background. My last video on Abu Sir, I went through this. Like it's literally part of the same thing. Like there is 100% stuff under the ground all the way to those pyramids.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure they're piloting. They're picking dirt up and they're piling it up over here.
That's all they do in Egypt.
That's all they do.
Just dig a hole.
Pilot.
They got to move the
Everyone's
dirt.
A pilot. Pick it up, pilot over there.
Pile it up over there.
Pile it up over there. Back and forth. That's pretty much what happens. Yeah. And then so that day we also went down beneath the step pyramid, right? We that was another permission we had.
Yeah. Man,
which was super cool.
I just had to swim in the dishes. That was my favorite part.
Scrooge, was it?
Yeah. I was scrooging it up in the dishes, dude.
In the piles of dishes. Yeah, well, here's the really cool thing for me about this is that this is in situ, right? This is like the people. Look, I don't think the provenance argument that people make about the Vase scan project holds any weight whatsoever. I think it's illogical. All you got to do is think about it for a bit. It's a nonsense argument. It doesn't make any sense. However, it's the standard thing that people go to. It's like, oh, these are fake. The provenance, you can't establish it. You have that problem with museum pieces too. You guys kind of, this is news, right? I've been talking to Adam about, you guys already got into the Petri Museum and did this.
Yeah.
So that Carolee and Kyle, you were there, and Adam was there scanning vases in the Petri Museum, which a lot of these things have.
Photogrammetry and all that.
Impeccable provenance.
Yeah. Impeccable provenance, even though some of them Petri bought from vendors himself in the late 1800s, whatever.
Yeah.
let's just agree they probably weren't making them.
Yeah, of course they didn't have
precision ones. Well, and the takeaway that Adam tells me is that they're precise. That there's at least half of the ones they looked at, and bearing in mind, as described by the curators of the Flinders Petri Museum, this is Petri's bottom 5-10% of his stock, right?
Yeah.
The least quality things he had, his teaching stock.
They were his teaching stock, yeah.
Yeah. Gave all the good stuff to benefactors and, his friends and buddies, and he probably kept for himself or whatever.
And I'm sure like the British Museum and some other museum, I'm sure a lot of other museums got pieces.
Yes. Yeah. And so... And Adam says they're precise, right? At least half of the ones that they scanned were in the ballpark. And, this is, I haven't tweeted this out yet, but Dr. Max Zalanov, I think his last name is, sorry, Max, if I butchered that. He's the guy that we did the scanning electron microscopy work with recently.
Yeah.
But he just put out an interesting article where he basically has I think he's the first guy who studied a large number of vases. Like all of the results from all of Matt Bell's collection, basically it's like 40 or 50 of them. And he's done kind of a distribution analysis of, okay, it seems like there are two categories almost of vases, ones that are very precise and ones that are less precise. And the very precise stuff, you're talking about 0.005 of an inch or under in terms of average precision. And then the less precise stuff is like maybe 20. And that's super interesting. Like, it's just interesting to note, and we're seeing the same distribution even in like the small amount of vases that were scanned from the Petri Museum. And long way of cutting around this is to really say, well, this is addressing that provenance, objection to the vase scan work, saying that the vases you guys have looked at are all fake. Well,
yeah,
not according to the results of the Petri Museum. And look, we're actually down here beneath the step pyramid. You don't get any more OG than this, right? This is literally pieces that are still there.
Yeah, this is the source for pretty much all of them. So,
yeah.
It's
crazy. So, super cool. I thought that was really cool. What else did we do while we were there?
That looks like a totally professional video you got right there. Look at how professional.
This one? The upside down one? Yep. There it is.
Yeah,
it's going to be janky for you, but yeah.
That's not too bad. Some of the provenance arguments almost sound like special pleading, like in other words, they're saying there's an exception here, even though it wouldn't be questioned in any other context. It's being questioned now because of the data that's being shown. You know?
Exactly. Yeah. It's special pleading. I mean,
Yeah.
to me, look, I wrote this. I've been meaning to write this article about the whole process, and I'm just going to flip back. I'm going to stop sharing here. We'll talk about this a bit. I sort of break it down in a couple different ways. One is that people don't understand generally how museum or the antiquities market works when you talk about provenance of these vessels. You have the same problem with a lot of museum artifacts as well. Like a lot of stuff in museums you'll see little plaques like donated to us by this or that private collector.
Yeah.
And they often don't have that sort of, well, we know exactly when and where this was dug up out of the sand. They'll just have a label that says this is pre-dynastic, this is Nakata culture, and it's just, and they do that by matching it with form or with stone type or with any of those established archaeological techniques for doing, for dating stuff.
Yeah, Petri actually, he's credited with coming up with this technique of dating stuff based on the stylistic, the pottery styles.
Particularly
he created a whole timeline based on these styles of form and paint and whatever on pottery.
Yeah, there's a nice graphic. You go to the Quarry Museum, it's in the corner there.
Yeah, this is also what they do with lithics. It's the same kind of deal. You'll get some contextual dating because they might find a burial and they can get some carbon date and be like, oh, okay, this is like matched up with this style, and then they keep building this whole timeline based on style. Anyways.
Yeah, no, that's right. And so you have that same problem with, just because it's in a museum doesn't make it impeccable.
Yeah.
And the more provenance on the antiquities market, the more expensive it can be, and then you get to a point where if there's a lot of provenance, then Egypt can determine, is this, legitimately something that was given, part of the diplomatic process or whatever, or it was taken illegally, and then they might ask for it back, which is what they're trying to do for like half the stuff in the British Museum. They're all like, give us back the Rosetta Stone, and Britain's like, no. And
yeah.
So it's a challenge. And the other thing to me, that there's a couple other things that don't make sense. It's like, even with the vases that have been studied that have provenance going back to the 1960s, the 1980s, it just doesn't make sense that they were ever made as these highly precise designed fakes in that time period. Because, to be honest, these vases were never worth very much on that antiquities market. Not until recently, until they've been shown to have precision. And honestly, to my videos came out, I've heard from antiquities dealers, like the price of these vessels went up 3-4x on the antiquities market. And before that, people were more interested in, stuff with writing, statuary, stuff.
Yeah,
that,
they wanted statues or writing, yeah.
Yeah, if they have a vase that looks like this, it's just a stone vase. Like, what do you do? It's not, you can't do, it doesn't immediately scream ancient Egypt. No, you got one too. Yeah. This one's actually stone.
I meant to bring down my Petri core.
Oh, you got an actual stone one? Yeah, I didn't get that.
Well, it was just thanks to Yusuf's the man. Yusuf's brother created this one.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's
made
awesome.
it by hand.
He
made it with power tools by hand, no lathe. We also scanned this, because scanning this sort of work was like, how good can you make one with modern power tools? Like, that's a great data point, right? The inside's not as hollowed out as the inside. It was just a beautiful gift he gave me. I'm very appreciative for those guys.
Yeah.
But it's made from a conglomerate type of stone. But yeah, Carolee printed out the Petri cores.
Yes. It's
cool.
Great. It's like, it's a very, very good print. You can actually see the...
You can see some of the striations
and everything.
If you like shine the light on it on the side here,
there you go. Look at that.
You can sort of see the striations on it. It actually shows the groove. Yeah. Anyway, so they just weren't worth much, and you couldn't have made. I think it's challenging to even make them with that much precision back in the 60s or the 80s with the equipment they have. And even if you could, it would have cost a fortune. You'd never make your money back. Somebody made them thinking it'd be funny that in 50 years people would lose their shit about it because they'd invent technologies to be able to analyze them. Yeah. I think it doesn't make any sense. And it's lacking a bit of logic, the whole argument. And to be honest, if you were making
ranging in size from thimble, I mean, how much do those ones weigh? The ones in, maybe not a ton, but probably 500 pounds.
Yeah,
those giant ones.
Some of the big ones, for sure. Yeah, a couple hundred pounds.
The huge ones in the British Museum are like, they're giant boulders. I mean, they're just
they got to be hundreds of pounds. I would say 500 pounds for that that biggest one. There's one in the Petri Museum too that's like, he's just got a bunch of pieces of, but there's like, they sort of built a model of it. And
Thank you very much, sir.
Oh, sorry, Viper Chris. Thank you for the knock 200, man. Appreciate it. Super.
Yeah,
super cool. I will break for super chats if you guys need to. Go ahead.
Yeah, we have Viper Chris. Also, we got 200 from him as well, and then there was
thank you
one
so
more.
much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
Viking
you
Gaming. We lost it,
Dennis.
Where did it go?
Yeah, thank you guys for the super chat. Seriously.
Yes, thank you. I'm engaged in this conversation. I'm trying to keep up with chat, so I will try and catch up with chat. So apologies for anyone that hasn't that I'm missing on the chat. But yeah, so look, it's the provenance thing again, and then if you're making them as fakes, the last thing I'll say about it is why design them with like this complex mathematical formula, like the radial traversal pattern. There's no reason to go to that much effort to that this design. We know this exists, right? We've seen it in multiple vases now. It's this I think it's a massive smoking gun for sophisticated design on these things. It's honestly not been explored enough yet, but you just wouldn't do it if they were fakes. So, but we're solving the fake thing, and this year is going to bring even more massive news on the scanning front, is what I'd say.
Yeah, and I think the point you're originally getting to, based on that picture you were showing, is that by scanning pieces down below the step pyramid, there's no question that somebody faked vases and then stuffed them below the pyramid in the original spot, right? So those pieces, even though none of them are whole, are giving you data on undoubtedly ancient pieces, right? I think that's what you were originally talking about.
Indeed, yes,
Yeah.
and look, you can there's the provenance of the Petri Museum, and I can tell you this year there's definitely going to be more scans made in in other museums.
Yes,
There's some
that's
big
right.
news coming. Can't talk about it much yet, but it's some exciting things happening. And Carol is in the chat. Hey, Carol, he says that we still need time to analyze. Yusuf's Vase quite busy with the Petri scan still. Yeah, that's the other thing. This stuff, once you scan it, that's like step one.
Right.
The
Then the work
analysis
begins.
in Polyworks, then the work begins. Right. It takes a lot to analyze it, but yeah, this was cool. Like getting these having a couple. We actually scanned 2 or 3 of these handmade ones as data points, as well as we also scanned some of the handmade alabaster stuff as data points. It's I think the broader the data set that we have, the better, right? So
Yes.
So yeah, all right. Let's see. Do we want to move on to Turkey here, or what do you think?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I mean,
scan.
yeah, we can move on to Turkey.
Segue somehow.
Yeah.
to Turkey. Well, the acoustic thing actually is a segue, believe it or not. But once we get to Sogmatar. But one of the things that I was super interested in, and let me bring up
$10 for. No, this is not Bruce. This is Antonio.
Oh,
and
cheers.
I'm totally gonna not butcher your last name.
Yeah, we're not going to try to say it. Thank you, Antonio.
Appreciate that.
Let me bring up a video in the meantime while we talk about Mount Nemrut. Like, this is a fascinating site to me. We visited Mount Nemrut, and by the way, everyone, we're going to talk about Turkey. And I do want to say, if you want to go to some of the places that we're talking about for the rest of this podcast, we are going to be there in April. We have a tour happening. You can UnchartedX.com, find the tour itinerary. It's part of the reason we're so excited about talking about some of these sites is because there's some of these sites we've never seen. I haven't seen. You guys haven't seen.
Yep.
The Ruts, the Phrygian Valley, Cappadocia, Derinkuyu.
Yes.
And there's a bunch of stuff in southeastern Turkey that we're going to get to that's also really cool. So some of these things and we're definitely going back to Nemrut. Like I really am looking forward to getting back to Nemrut, to be honest, because I know so much more about it now than I did beforehand. So, what is Mount Nemrut? If you haven't seen it before, it's hard to put it into context. So I think it's, what is it, like 7,000, 7,500 feet up in the air? It's in the mountains in southeastern Turkey. And on the tallest peak, I think, in that area, there is, and you can see it here, there's obviously some snow on the ground. There is a
over to the video.
giant
Sorry, go ahead, Ben.
tumulus mound that's then been let me grab this. Then been built around, or it's had some sort of megalithic architecture and carvings done all around it. So do you guys know the background with Nemrut? Have you?
Well, I know I know the basic story of what's the guy's name? There was the king, is it Antonius?
Antiochus.
Antiochus. Yeah.
Antiochus. Antiochus. Yes.
Yeah. So he basically, the idea is that it's his tomb beneath the tumulus, and these are, and then he wanted some kind of dedication to him done every year up on this mountain. And at first that was said to, so there's like a platform, there's an altar basically. Yep. And people at first thought it was because he was like incredibly arrogant, but then other people disagreed later, saying that reading the text very carefully, you see it was actually they contend that it was a more of a pious request, not an arrogant demand. And then there's questions on, there's questions on how was this extremely expensive and difficult project completed by these people, and some of the sort of explanations given are, well, it's close to the Silk Road, so money would be going through, and I don't know. The explanations aren't very good, but it does look. It's undoubted, like what Ben is saying. This tumulus, the main feature on this site is actually the pile of gravel, not all the carvings around it.
And it's limestone, right? Isn't it the world's largest tumulus mound?
Yes, it is the largest pile of gravel, like ancient tumulus mound anywhere. Yeah.
Is there anything similar in terms of stylistic carvings that match this?
The carvings, yes, it's very. So I mean, this is this is like the background to it. It's what they say it is, and I think this matches the carvings. I think the carvings were done by Antiochus or whatever his name is, who reigned over the kingdom called Commagene, right? Just COMMA, the UNESCO, what UNESCO says about it. Commagene was a kingdom founded north of Syria and the Euphrates after the breakup of Alexander's empire, and it's one of the most ambitious constructions of the Hellenistic period. The secretism of its pantheon or the lineage of its kings can be traced back through two sets of legends, Greek and Persian, and it's evident of the dual origin of this kingdom's culture. So you can see there's influences from both Greek and Persia in this, right? The kings that you have there, you have this mix of gods, basically, from either one. And in fact, I know which gods they were depicting, or at least the ones that have been said on the site, because the site itself, super interesting history of excavation. This is one of the mysterious things about it. Like, if I just roll back to looking at the tumulus mound, I mean, you look at the size of this thing. It's absolutely massive. I think it's like
it's crazy.
150, 160 meters, so times 3 for feet. 500-600 feet wide and at least 50 meters tall. So 150, 160 meters feet tall. It's a huge mound of, I think it's limestone chips, and it's and it's not like it's. And here's the thing that I've learned about this recently is this isn't just a mound over a flat surface of mountain. We know that the mound is like a primordial mound kind of deal underneath this as well.
Yeah.
And wherever they think there might be a tomb or an art or I guess a space or some sort of chambers under this, it's in the bedrock of the mountain itself, but beneath this tumulus mound, which makes it extremely difficult to get to. And there have been attempts to get to it. There was a lady, who was it, by the name of Teresa Gohl. So she dedicated her life to this site. So originally the site was excavated. Carl Sester, back in 1881, did some excavations here. But then once Teresa Gohl came out, I think around 1947, she then spent several decades at the site, going back to it every season. Because you can't get up there in the winter and it's a nightmare in winter. Excavate, and then eventually in the 60s, you had the advent of ground penetrating radar and other seismic technology. So she spent a couple of years organizing different tests that were magnetic anomaly testing and ground penetrating radar, as well as acoustic techniques. So pretty much the whole gamut of what was available in the late 60s in terms of testing. And it turns out that, so all of the results of those tests show that, yes, there are anomalies here. And yes, there is quite possibly these chambers, what looks like spaces or chambers. It's anomalies. They weren't able to determine it completely, but they were definitely interested in trying to get to them. And they tried to excavate and get to them, and they never could because of the nature of the tumulus pile. So it's always been this big mystery about, okay, there's definitely something under here. What is it? And was this potentially a site that was already here that then, this Antiochus came and built his site around because it's like, this is a sacred site. You recognize what it is. Maybe he knew the history of it. Now, I do kind of want to correct something that I've always said about this, and I've told people, and, no mistakes, zero mistakes on this channel.
Zero mistakes.
Zero mistakes. One of those things is that I had often said that this was one of the supposed locations for the Hall of Records that Edgar Cayce had talked about, and that's not the case. So there's actually no connection to this particular place with Edgar Cayce's supposed Hall of Records. If you look at what Cayce actually said, people who don't know, Edgar Cayce's American Prophet, would have these visions. I mean, he's the guy who has long said that the entry to the Hall of Records is one of them is beneath the right paw of the Sphinx.
Left.
Left paw? I think it's actually...
Is it the left paw?
Left or right?
Maybe
I read
I'm wrong.
Right recently. I always thought left.
Kyle will look it up.
But I recently read right, and one other thing I didn't realize about what he said is that he said the entrance to it is beneath it. It's not that the actual cavity isn't beneath it.
It's the entrance.
And he said the actual Hall of Records is somewhere between the Sphinx and the Great Pyramid, so it shoots off to the side. However, the other locations, he prophesied these 3 locations, and he was a lot of people made a lot of money off his stock market predictions. So he sort of had some credo in terms of the prophetic dreams arena, or maybe he was just gifted at figuring out which way the stock market was going. I don't know. But he said, obviously, the one in Giza. The second was covered by the Atlantic Ocean near the Bimini Road, and the third one is supposedly somewhere in the Yucatan. That was his 3 spots.
Ah, okay.
Now, we'll come back to the Hall of Records when we get to Sogmatar, because there's another interesting element to this Hall of Records story at Sogmatar. But specifically for this, I do want to correct myself and say this isn't the location of the Hall of Records. But that said, it is super interesting in terms of its excavation history and just how mysterious it is. And
I'd like to say something about this.
Thank you very much, sir. You're a gentleman and a scholar.
Bruce Silver, thank you very much. And I missed somebody else before. Rubate, man, thank you guys both for the super chats. Much appreciated.
And we should thank Viking Gaming again.
Yes.
Thanks
Viking
again.
Gaming.
For
Wants to
another
come
5
on a tour, says he's got to save for it. Hell yeah, bro.
Good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Stop paying us now, and you can pay us later for the tour. Appreciate it, buddy. According to the AI overview, it's under the left paw.
Okay.
But I don't know what you guys said while I was gone dealing with children. But
yeah, Kyle had a dad crisis.
just reading recently about Petri excavating around the rubble around the pyramids and stuff, and kind of realizing how treacherous. Like they try to dig a trench to the wall of the pyramid, and
At my doom, right?
yeah, I mean they did it all
bunch
over
of
the
them.
place, but
Yeah.
I can't remember which one he talked about. There was a windstorm that whipped up, and it starts pulling these grains of sands out of the walls, and it loosens up some blocks, and then the whole thing just collapses. But how treacherous these trenches can be. So you imagine trying to like trench into this thing.
I can show you pictures.
And
I got pictures of what.
about it being like a safe. And if you think of a pyramid, it's like, well, that seems like a lot more solid, right? And that's a harder safe to break into because you literally have to quarry your way into it or mine your way into it. But it's actually a self-supporting structure, so you can tunnel into it. Whereas this, you can't tunnel. You just have to remove everything above it.
Yeah, exactly.
And that is what makes it
self-seals.
actually a better safe
Yeah.
than a structure, which I think
do
is
you guys-
really cool.
Yeah. Do you guys see that second video I just popped up?
So this wall of rock right there is the material that the mound is made out of, and that I'm pretty sure that's just cut. They cut that straight off, and they quarry and they crush this rock.
Yeah, so people were asking about the size of the like on average they're fist sized squarish pieces of limestone.
Square and flat.
Yeah.
The
and you
limestone
actually- you
naturally breaks in sort of right angles.
Yeah.
So
You can see some of the bedrock here.
Yeah.
So it's not like a piled up. Again, there's a primordial mound underneath it, but there's covered by like generally meters of this tumulus on top of it. And I'll and this little video, as we talk about this, we walk around to the side. So you have basically an east and a west a platform that's been built. There's also a stepped pyramid here. Super interesting. And then this is where Antiochus built his statues with that Persian Greek influence of these gods, which we'll get to, but you'll see it here as we show this video panning around it. But what's interesting to me, and you can see just the vista from up here, it's spectacular, and you are kind of on the highest point. So whoever built this thing had to truck all of this tumulus up there, and by truck I mean carry it. I mean it's a haul just even getting up here. Just the walk up here is exhausting at high altitude, and it's just staircases the whole way. It's a bit of a lung buster.
Yeah,
So,
that's a great view that we were looking at right there. It is the highest peak. Maybe you said that already.
Yeah.
So every amount of work, like just getting to the site, is difficult. But the other thing is that I was reading. There's a kind of a brief history, an overview of all the archaeology that's been done on it. And one of the things that they're concerned about is, as you can see in these videos, there was snow there when we were there.
Yeah.
And the whole place had been closed because there was so much snowfall that you couldn't get to the site. And then until it just, they opened it for us to get up there, basically. But people are concerned because the the sides of the tumulus are very steep, and snow piles up on it and then collapses.
Yeah.
And it like basically a mini avalanche comes down and starts hitting the statues and pushing things around and, and causing damage. And so there's all this debate on, do we make, can we commission somebody to make copies and then move these somewhere where they'll be safe? But it is interesting. And so like just the snow is dangerous there. And then the other problem, of course, is that the tumulus itself is piled up in such a way that it's almost at slope failure. So as it is. So if you start digging
it's almost going to collapse. Just it's right. It is steep.
Yeah, it's very steep. And so if you start digging into it, you potentially cause a cascade of fist-sized limestone rocks that start falling from above. Yeah. So it's incredibly dangerous to try to dig into it. And this is why if there are chambers below it, they have been sealed and unopened by anyone since they were buried. Yep. And however long ago that was, whether it was Antiochus or long before him.
Right. Yeah, it could have been long before him.
Yeah.
I'll read a little bit. So there was a book produced. So Teresa Goll, who was there for several decades, basically dedicated her life to this site, excavating it from the 40s through the 60s and into the 70s, and then did like a restoration project, which was some kind of thing. And she actually died before she had the chance to write the book. So there was it was put together from her. The book was actually built by, and it was edited by. That's actually the step pyramid right here. The remnants of it that's been rebuilt. There was a whole step pyramid here. This is all that's left of it now. Well, actually, they rebuilt this. But this book was put together, and I can just let me quote a little bit from it, talking about some of the testing that she did, because I want to share some of the data from these books with you after I do this quote, because it gets into just what they found, and I think it's a really interesting indication of what is potentially there. Because there actually has been some investigation done here. I also thought that there were people that had died trying to excavate this site, and I can't find any. I was told that by the Ramazan or someone in Turkey, but I've not found any verification of that. As far as I can tell, no one actually died trying to excavate this site, but they definitely had cave-ins, and they had a lot of trouble trying to excavate. And in fact, the pictures of their excavation, you'll see exactly the sort of problems they had. It's really haphazard and frankly dangerous trying to dig into this tumulus pile, which I guess is the point of it.
Yeah, that is the point, I think, exactly.
And Bonnet, thank you so much for the 50.
Thank you very much, sir. You're a gentleman and a scholar.
Yeah, we got 20 from Edfu. Thank you, buddy.
You guys.
He's saying with all sites being found in Turkey now, it's potentially shaping up to be a massive, organized, multi-site, multi-generational project. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yep.
100%. And we got another one from Antonio as well. He says he's watching us through hacked Wi-Fi. It's awesome, bro.
Hacked Wi-Fi? Excellent. Yes. You're next door to the Ramada Inn? All right. Very good.
Dude, he's hacked your show, so he's getting all your content for free.
He's like, I use ad blocker.
And he's donating to our pyramid scheme.
All right, good. Well, whatever. Whatever works for people. Mr. House Party asked for the book ISBN. Yeah, I'll show you the book in a minute. You actually find it on archive.org. I'm not sure about the ISBN number. However, let me quote a little bit about what Teresa Goll's work on here was, and this is from the introduction by the editor to her book. So quoting it, Goll's only unfulfilled goal in her exploration of Nemrut was locating Antiochus's tomb chamber. All conventional archaeological techniques had failed to uncover any hint of the burial's existence. While preparing manuscripts for the publication of both Commagene and Hierothecia during a year of study in Europe, Goll became aware of new geophysical methods for subsurface archaeological investigations, successfully used by the Fondazione Lirici to explore the interiors of unexcavated Etruscan tombs. Goll recognized the potential value of these sophisticated techniques for her work at Nemrut and set about organizing a new international team. With the help of these engineers, Goll arranged a season of tests at Nemrut for the summer of 1963. Under the photojournalistic watch of the National Geographic Society, seismic refraction and electrical resistivity tests were conducted on the mound and terraces of the Hierothecian. I should learn how to say that because that's what it's called, the Hierothecian. Mm-hmm. Although, again, no definitive trace of a tomb chamber were detected, test anomalies suggested areas for further excavation. In 1964, a new team was assembled by Goal, including Jeremy R. Hutt, then a master's student in the Department of Oceanography, Oregon State University, and several assistants. More comprehensive seismic and gravity surveys or gravitic surveys and magnetic measurement tests were carried out on the anomalies found in 1963 and again over the entire site. The monument was rephotographed and old drawings were updated and revised. Although the final resting place of Antiochus remained undiscovered, the test results allowed a new understanding of the mountain peak underneath the tumulus. And this geophysical exploration produced a mass of new information about the site that had to be integrated into the already begun final excavation report. So if I go back to this and just share some images, let me show you some of the pictures out of these books, which were very cool. You guys can see this, I hope.
Yep. We're watching you pick the images.
Here we go. Where are we? Nemrut. So this is the book. So Nemrut Dagi. So if people are asking about the book, this is the book. It's called Nemrut Dagi. There's volume 1 of text. It's the Hierothesian of Antiochus I of Commagene. Volume 2 is the illustrations. Of course, I like the picture book the most. I like pictures. Oh, it's
easy to read.
Easy to read. Yeah. So this is like showing you some of the surveys. This is the site plan for the electrical sounding and seismic profiles.
Oh, they have that. They have that in a big plaque at the site. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, for the survey. So this was one. So the electrical resistivity anomaly model. So they found a large spherical cavity that seems to be represented by this anomaly over the tumulus mound. So a large spherical cavity with a radius of 3 meters, so at least 6 meters across. So it's a pretty big chamber.
Spherical.
Spherical was the indication. Although there's some really interesting results that came back from the magnetic surveys on this site.
Oh my God, it's a spaceship.
It's a spaceship, bro. Yeah, I love some of these images that show you like the size of the mound. I saw the topographical maps.
Look at that.
Yeah, there's a ton of this really good information in here, showing the site plan with tumulus magnetic contours. There's all these weird sort of magnetic anomalies on here, and this is kind of the site plan. So you can see it's quite regular, like in terms of this. It's centered pretty well, and the tumulus mound goes up. You can see there's an east terrace and a west terrace. And you have the gods are kind of lined up. These kings are lined up on either side of this. And in fact, where they tried to dig and excavate was behind, I think, the east terrace, which you can see shown here a little bit on this diagram with this mess that they made in the tumulus mound behind it. You can see the regular shape of the hill here.
I really want to like secretly launch a drone over this site next time we go.
Yes. So here's an aerial view from like 1963 of Nemrut Dagi with the East Terrace in the foreground. So you see these massive kings on their podiums that we just saw in the video. Super cool. And then this is kind of gives you an idea of what is actually underneath the rubble, like the tumulus mound. So it's not, as I said, there is actually
mountain
this is important. Yeah, so this is the magnetic anomaly profile. So it's showing what could be, and it's tough to read, but what it says here is seismic fractures, either fractured bedrock or large blocks. So these could be passages and shafts going down into the bedrock beneath the tumulus that may have shown up with the magnetic surveys. So we don't know. They don't really know. It's just this anomaly that came out. It's like this could be fractured bedrock. It could be large blocks. It could be representative of these shafts.
It's amazing that after all that snow, after all these years, it hasn't exposed anything. I mean, it must be quite deep.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, I know that they're showing there like the sort of primordial mound or the mountaintop fairly close underneath that gravel, but it's got to be a lot for it to not be exposing
and
the
there's
bedrock.
also tons of it down the mountainside below the whole thing.
It's been falling down.
Yeah,
it has been. Yeah. And so this was what was left of the stepped pyramid that they had here. They've since rebuilt a lot of this on the site, and this is again there's not much left of this. But today they've done a good job of restoring a lot of this. You can see it. Some of the stonework's pretty good. I mean, it's fairly megalithic. You know, this is the general view after reconstruction of that step pyramid, which we were sitting on. That's still like that is today. But we'll get to like the, I guess the gods. We'll get to the excavation pictures in a second. But I do like this, which shows you the pantheon of gods here, where you have Apollo, Commagene, Zeus, Antiochus, Heracles, as well as your eagles and lions. So you have that mix of the Persian and the Greek pantheons, which is, this seems to line up to that culture. I think those were the guys who did these. These are impressive statues, but they're made from multiple blocks of stone. The carving's really cool, but I mean, I don't think these statues are like super old. The dating for Antiochus, for people that are wondering too, you're talking like 60 to 30 BC. Yeah. So pretty much near year zero, like within 50, 60 years. 2100 years ago.
Isn't there also a long bedrock cut shaft going into one of the nearby?
So behind it was this, yeah. So this is, you can see the attempts at trying to excavate into the tumulus here, where they'd have to build these rickety. They're basically building stone walls, and they're trying to hold it back, and then try to reinforce it with this wood. Although a cave in from above's not, it's just going to destroy that. And this was only a 2-meter break, so this is the view, looking west into the mound. And they've actually exposed some of the bedrock here, I think. Or tumulus construction details that stepped revenant. Maybe not. Maybe this is actually maybe this is saying this is actually constructed.
Wow, it's almost like a step pyramid.
Yeah.
Yeah, with then tumulus, like the loose stuff spread around on top of it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's cool. So they talk a lot about that, and so yeah, they were digging, you can see this here where they were really trying to dig into this, but I'm not sure how far you're getting. Excavation trenches. I mean, this just shows you how. I mean, these poor guys that have to do this work. I don't think this would have been easy trying to get into this, as evidenced by the fact that they never really did get into this. So, yeah, it kind of worked. I guess whatever. This is a good technique for keeping people out. Like, why don't don't build a giant pyramid and just cover it in limestone blocks. Just cover it in loose rubble, and that'll keep people out.
That's right.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, just get yourself buried beneath the. In the quarry, beneath the
scree.
The scree of the rock crusher.
Exactly.
No one will ever get into it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
There is somewhere nearby. I don't know if it's in the same mountain, but there is a deep shaft that's cut down into one of the mountains there, and they were having trouble digging that thing out too. And the last thing I was reading, I haven't followed up on it. I need to, but they were saying that there's writing at the entrance, so it's associated with the same guy, Antiochus. They were thinking maybe this is where he buried himself. So he's not buried beneath the mountain, but there's this shaft that goes in. Yeah, a red herring, and it says he's buried here or whatever. And they said that as of the writing of the paper I was reading, they said they hadn't yet gotten to the end of it. So they hadn't completely dug out the entire shaft. And that's interesting because, people have complained there's not a lot of funds for doing work there. And then they just turned it into a tourist site. So
yeah, that's super similar to what you hear in Egypt. Like, there's not a lot of funds. We're in, I had the same story, just slight diversion, but the Assyrian. We were back at the Assyrian on this last trip, and of course we didn't have a special permission on the primordial tour. Same guy, the guy who's running the work there talked. He's like, "Why aren't you coming in?" I'm like, "Well, we don't have permission this time." He's like, "Well," I was asking him about it because I'm like, "You said last time you were going to get a muck pump and clear it out." He's like, "Yep, no money." And there's literally no work at all happening there.
Oh, no.
Like, yeah, we got zero money. Nothing's happening. You need to come and do special permissions, and we'll get some of that money and dig it out. I'm like, "Well, sorry, not on this trip." Like,
sorry.
Talk to Yusuf, Yeah. So yeah, it's sad. It's unfortunate that there's not a ton of money to go into a lot of these different excavations. The wheels do turn slow. So.
Yeah, it does.
But I don't know. That place is fascinating. I really want to get back there because now I know more about the excavation history, a bit more about it. I think a fresh look at it would be really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it'll be great to get back there and hopefully it won't be covered in snow. I mean, that was sort of fun, but
it was. Yeah, we're gonna be there in April. It should be fine. We were there in March last time, I think. About the same time.
I don't remember.
I think it was April.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, hopefully
I thought it was April too.
Well, And the nice thing about this next trip, so the first time we went, the only time we went to Turkey, we did like a 1 week tour, and it was all pretty much in that southeastern
Right after a
region.
massive earthquake and a massive flood.
Yeah.
True. Yeah, and rainfall.
Yeah.
Made it. It was green, grass everywhere. It was beautiful. Like Karahan Tepe was spectacular, but yeah, it was a difficult time to go to Turkey. But this next trip in April, I'm super excited about it because it's longer. I think it's 12 or 13 days, and we're obviously doing Göbekli Tepe, Karahan Tepe, Nemrut, Sogmatar, the stuff around Şanlıurfa. But then we're getting out to Cappadocia and Derinkuyu, which is the massive underground city with I think Hugh Newman just did a video about these underground megaliths at that city. I saw pop up on YouTube.
Yeah, that the rolling doors. He's referencing the rolling doors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. It's just like third super chat on the live stream. Bonnet Lake, $100. Thanks, man.
Woo.
Thank you very much, sir.
I'll give
You're a gentleman.
that one. Thanks so much. Very generous. Appreciate it. I'm at 50 from Zebral, man. Oh, Phil and I are really looking forward to the Turkey trip. You're coming. Zach, Zebral with the 50. Thanks so much, man.
Yeah, we got
yes.
Zebral 50 to us as well. Man, can't wait to see you in
Excellent.
Turkey as well.
Yeah,
buddy.
Thanks, man.
You're coming on the trip. You don't need to tip us in here. I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
I don't even know if that's going through.
That's all right. And Antonio hit us up again as well, man. Thank you, man. Thank you for all the super chats, bro. We really appreciate it.
I do also. Cheers.
Yeah.
Very kind of you guys. But yeah, so Derinkuyu, I've never been there. It's like this massive underground city. I can't wait to get in there. It's a beautiful area too, from all accounts. It's like it's scenic. You've probably seen pictures of it if you've ever searched for it. It's like these, the huts or just the dwellings that are cut into the side of a mountain. And then they found that they've got entrances in these homes where people live, literally going into this massive multi-level underground city, one of the biggest underground cities that I think they've ever found.
And there's more than one, right? Derinkuyu is the one you can get into, but there's multiple like massive underground complexes in this same area, and some of them it's hard to confirm these kinds of things. You see this being said by authorities in Turkey and in the area, but that they may be connected at the bottom levels with each other with big roads, and that there's water sources down there as well, that they've dug them deep enough to get down to like water.
I think there definitely is water, and I've heard the same thing, that they may well be connected.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard other stuff too. Have you heard that other story? There's a story about giants? Is that where that is? Where someone went down in there and got lost and then found giants? I can't remember if that's that. That Professor Shy topic, but it's
that might be might be the hypogeum.
Oh, it is a hypogeum. That's right.
Yeah.
It is a hypogeum.
But it's very similar in style. The hypogeum.
Yeah.
You kind of associate it. It looks like almost an ancient underground bunker, like something you would build because you're afraid of something on the surface. Now, the debate is, what were they afraid of? And people are like, oh, well, it was invasions, and so you're hiding underground. And I can't really buy that, because the other thing that they have is, there's air shafts basically going to the surface. And if you're living down there and you're cooking, then any invading army running around on the surface is going to see smoke coming out of the ground. And then all you have to do is, you can easily
plug it up.
Yeah.
Start pouring water in there or something.
Yeah, that's right. Pour boiling oil, whatever.
Boiling oil, yeah, that'll work. Yeah, pitch, whatever. Just dirt
pitch.
in general.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know. What's interesting is to connect it, if possible, to some of the Zoroastrian mythology about Ahura Mazda and him telling. I think Graham Hancock goes through some of this, but Ahura Mazda basically telling, what was his name? What was the guy's name?
Vishnu or something?
No, not Vishnu. That's Hindu. What was his name? Yima.
Yeah, that's right. Fair Yima.
That's right.
Fair Yima.
Yeah, he tells him to basically build an underground Vara, is what they're calling them, to protect people from what he calls a catastrophe of ice. So that the surface would be unlivable for a long time, and that they had to very carefully pick the people who could live down there, that they had to be perfect and no defects, and that there was like like everybody could have a certain number of kids, and it was all very regulated because it was basically you're having to have a functioning society underground for hundreds of years, possibly, is the implication. So, are these sites the Varas of legend, and if so, how old are they really? That's what I love about the Daring QU stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm super stoked to visit those sites.
Yeah, I can't wait. Well, and the other once we're there, I think we go off to the Phrygian Valley after that, and that's I've been watching what you guys have been doing because you did that video. I mean, that's where there's a bunch of stuff in the Phrygian Valley, but one of the things in particular, I think you added it to the itinerary.
Yes.
Because of the cart ruts.
The cart ruts, right?
There, and you got. I watched the video you guys had with Mike from Wandering Wolf.
Yeah. Looking
at the cart ruts in Austin, and I've not looked deeply into the cart rut thing, but it is super strange.
Right.
Like, I saw what Graham Hancock he talked about him. I think in the first season.
Yep.
Was it the first season of Ancient Apocalypse? And disappearing into the sea, but the Phrygian Valley's got a bunch of this stuff.
Yes. So the most famous cart ruts are from Malta. Those are the ones that most people are familiar with. They're all over the island of Malta.
Get out the sun here, Jesus.
Yeah, you need some curtains, bro.
I have put a curtain up. It's coming through the curtain. I don't know. It's very strong here at the moment. The curtain might be a sheet, and maybe isn't enough.
Yeah, it's blinding you. I can tell.
Yeah. Yep. It's blinding me. That's all right. Carry on.
Get the shades.
Malta.
So
I might have to get some shades.
So Malta is famous for what we were just talking about, the hypogeum, for one thing. There's at least 2 known hypogeums. There's only one that's sometimes open to the public, but there's a second one there. Those are discovered in the same way that the underground cities in Cappadocia are discovered, which is usually somebody is digging something in their basement and they break through into an underground chamber, and it turns out to not just be a hole in the ground, but actually a massive, incredibly ancient, beautifully constructed, complex structure beneath the ground. But
silo.
Yeah. Like, of course, Daring QU is like at least 12 levels deep. Malta is 3 or 4 maybe, and it's got some beautiful carvings in it. The other thing that's interesting with Malta is for a long time it was some of the oldest. It was basically considered to be the oldest megalithic sites on Earth before Göbekli Tepe was found.
The hypogeum and that, yes.
Yeah, the hypogeum, and then I'm not even going to try to say the names of the temples. Yeah. They have, like, Gigantea is one of them.
Gigantea or whatever.
Gigantea, yeah. And then there's a bunch of other ones that have interesting names. They're all circular, which is interesting. Göbekli Tepe is also, has these circular shapes. Stonehenge as well, right? They look like stone circles, but they've been turned into temples. They also have the sort of signature stone doors where somebody has made a square megalith and then cut a round hole through it, like basically made a door in the most difficult way possible. It's the temples on Malta are famous for that too. So somewhere these people on Malta, a long time ago, this may be even up to almost 5,000 BC, were cutting, quarrying, extracting, moving, and standing up enormous limestone blocks on this island. So there were quarries on the island as well, and all from, like, around the quarries and in other areas all over the island are these deep ruts in stone that have a specific gauge. In other words, the width between the ruts in the stone is the same. Like, it's a gauge width, and it's interesting how you can connect the gauge width of these ruts to Roman carts and Roman roads all the way up to modern rails. That you see the connection across thousands and thousands of years, that we've been using this same sort of width for vehicles for a long time, and it's based on something that's really old, that's still cut in stone.
But they don't have the doubling. It curves, right? That's the really strange thing about it.
Right.
So it's you have to have, if you're talking about some kind of a wagon or something like that, you have to have all tires are steering.
Yeah.
So that they follow each other's track exactly.
Right. Or it's only 2 wheels. Okay. Right. It's one axle.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, and it's one.
They're
yes, 2 wheels,
bicycling
one
these
axle.
giant megaliths.
Yeah, yes, they were balancing them, right? Yeah.
So the argument
Right,
with
there
the argument with the Malta ruts has been for a long time that somebody was like a very basic cart. Like you have they have drawings where it's like one like a mule or something, and he's got 2 sticks connecting him to a couple of wheels, and the guy's put a big block on there, and he's leading his mule to carry this one block.
There should be 3 freaking ruts.
I know the mule should make his own rut.
Should have
On
a rut.
its own rut.
Yeah.
So there should be 3 ruts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, chat too. I think there was an audio issue. Sounds like it's sorted itself out. There was I don't know. You guys got some comments.
0
too,
mistakes.
Maybe, but that was 0 mistakes. Yeah, I think it's an OBS thing. I will try not to fiddle with the mic. Maybe.
Well,
it was the mic.
I did notice you played a sound effect, and then for a couple of seconds your mic sounded weird, and then it fixed itself. Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't have my freaking soundboard wired through the. Yeah, I'm really upset about that.
Kyle is feeling.
I got
like
a
an
wide
amateur
in
over
through
here.
the mic, so it does that. You get to hear it too. Sun 1, Ben 0. Yeah,
I'm
they're all
afraid
making
to
jokes
touch
about the sun
anything.
just owning me here.
No one has complained.
People
I'm not
want to take a
touching you.
sun break so I can find some shade. They're concerned for me.
You want to take a break?
No,
I'm
I'm fine. It's
Are
all
you
right.
sure? It looks painful,
yes,
bro.
I'm sure.
Just go-
No,
just-
I'm good.
You're gonna get a sunburn.
Just go fix your freaking.
I can't do anything. I literally have to go find a giant piece of wood to lean up on the outside of this, or find a piece of cardboard, and it's more trouble than it's worth right now. We'll just do. I find this spot right here. There we go. It's not too bad. Like it's fine. Aziz light. Yeah, I need that.
Dang it!
Yep, Legetto made me that soundboard thing as well. I haven't put it on the
Where-
soundboard yet, so
There it is.
there it is. I heard it. Yep.
Yeah, but it's
Aziz
not.
light. He is
have to
melting.
try this. I
I'm
gotta
not melting. It's fine. Thanks for the
what?
concern, chat.
Where's
It's
this
actually quite
coming-
pleasant. It's diffused through this evidently quite threadbare sheet that I've hung up on the outside of my window here in an attempt to block it. Yeah. Long story. You want to hear more about it? I had a piece of like siding that was against here, but it eventually just curved over and bent itself in half from gravity, and so it doesn't work anymore. And I was like, I need a solution. So I staple gunned a sheet to the outside of my window. It's pretty low tech, but it's failing. And this was in the 10 minutes before we decided to start the show today. So yeah, sorry about that.
That's hilarious.
And Barabar Caves, yes, we've talked. Someone mentioned the Barabar Caves. Yes, there's actually a video on my channel about the Barabar Caves. We've talked about it. We haven't really talked about it much here, but it's another topic. But I mean, that's one place along with Malta that I'd love to get to.
Yeah.
And Nick with the $2, Ben gaming with sun directly in his eyes. Nice, cheers. Yes.
Yeah,
He's seen me.
Nick gave us
Yeah.
a $2 donation as well. Thanks, buddy. Really
Thanks,
appreciate
buddy.
it.
But yeah, so the car ruts in the Phrygian Valley are like that, right? The same gauge width. They're like the Maltese ones.
Yes, they. Okay. So there's some differences. Like in Malta, you can see cart ruts that are pretty thin. Each rut itself, looks more like what you would expect a wagon wheel. But then other ones are wide, like how you would expect more like a modern tire, and the bottoms are flat. And then there's pretty steep edges. This is mostly what's in the Phrygian Valley. And one of the things I'm interested with the Phrygian Valley is because some of these are cut through quite narrow, however they're made, I don't know. Like there's arguments that they're really old and they were made when the limestone was actually soft, or in some, then the standard explanation is that they were made by enormous amounts of traffic over the same path multiple times, slowly with friction digging into the stone. I just have a hard time with that. But in the Phrygian Valley, some of them are really well preserved. On Malta, a lot of them are incredibly eroded. They've been exposed for a long time.
The ones in Texas too. Like they were pretty eroded. The ones.
Yeah,
some of
and
the
they're
ones
at the
we saw around
bottom. They're on the bottom of riverbeds, so they've been, water's been running over them for who knows how long. But still, what's interesting is I was reading a paper on the Texas ones, and they were talking about how it was really interesting. This guy was basically saying, so, these were probably cut by wagons in the 1800s, blah blah blah. Then he goes on to say how well preserved they are because they're in incredibly hard limestone in the bottom of riverbeds. I'm like, wait, you think like people driving wagons for maybe 50 years, during the expansion of the West, cut these into incredibly hard limestone, but then that limestone is really hard, so it's survived all the floods and everything that the river has done since then. I don't know. It's
it
interesting.
doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, but in the Phrygian Valley, and it's difficult to find good pictures of this. One of my goals is to we're going to get some really high quality video and photos of these. Kyle, you can share this one if you can right now, Kyle.
Sure.
This you had the video up there, so it's the video that's this is the I can see it.
Just photos.
Yeah, just a couple of photos. So
look at those, and they're white.
Look at the scrape marks on the left,
on the side, and on both sides, really.
Yeah, and on the right. So this is, and again, this is a low quality photo. We're gonna get better ones.
Okay.
But you can also see
Let me zoom in.
Aha!
To the pixel.
Yes,
I can
I
see
can
pixels.
tell by the pixels that there's something weird here. There are actually some better quality photos on there's a
enhance.
Yeah. Yes, zoom, enhance, rotate.
AI fix the photograph.
Yes, where's the AI when you need it?
So let me.
You want to just go to the next one here?
Yeah, just pop over.
can
So
use the arrows.
there's a good.
man.
Yeah.
That's
So
fancy.
this is.
Man, come on.
What is this? Like, are we expecting that the wheel axle was just allowed to grind this into the side of the mountain?
And this is what, limestone? It must be. It looks like.
Yeah, it's limestone and it's hard limestone. But also look at the rut down below it on the left there. It's flat on the bottom.
It is. Yeah,
And
it is
very steep sides. This, I say, argues for it either having been purposefully cut.
Okay.
Or it was made in mud. I don't know.
You gotta looks like you have a fairly straight wall on the inside and a slanted, tilted wall on the outside, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And if this was an axle, I mean, I guess maybe the axle isn't turning.
Well, so one of the other arguments is that these were irrigation channels. But if it's an irrigation channel, what the hell is that above it? There's no reason to have that up there, that cut, that scrape along the canyon wall. It's not a canyon, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But some of them actually are in canyons. Okay, so here's more of the ruts. Now, again, these are far...
It's so sharp.
Yeah.
Are you sure this is in limestone or is this in volcanic tuff? Is this in the Phrygian Valley?
It might be in tuff, yeah. It could be in tuff.
Because Darren QU is in volcanic tuff, which is a much softer stone. Now, I'm not trying to say anything particular, but it looks like tuff.
It could be tough, yeah. We'll have to check.
It is a fair way away from Cappadocia.
Yeah,
okay.
It is. It's not, it's not like close to it or anything.
Yeah, we'll be driving like 7 hours on a bus to get there.
Yeah, yeah. But the valley itself is large, and if you kind of cruise around on Google Maps, you can see these ruts all through the stone in the valley. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
They're and you can see like modern roads, like on the right there is a place where modern cars have been driving.
Yeah.
And they're driving along because these ruts are on the left. People are coming out here to look at this, right? Or they're just off-roading and having fun or something. But the argument that this is some kind of irrigation system is ridiculous.
I agree. Yeah.
And the argument that this was made by a whole bunch of vehicles slowly cutting ruts into the stone also seems incredibly silly. I can't rule it out entirely. But
I could see that this is irrigation. Like it's kind of like a bunch of guys like us who are like, okay, we're gonna cut an irrigation trench, and then like they were like, okay, that didn't work. Like make a better irrigation trench. I have to do it like 5 or 6 times.
Make the water flow uphill.
Yeah, where's the water coming from if it's irrigation?
Finally, by the 5th time, they got it. They did it right.
Yeah, I know. I have no answer to that. It's a I don't know. I'm interested in seeing them because I just have no with these cart ruts, particularly the ones that disappear like off the coastlines and they go into the ocean and Malta and places like that. Or it's like the ocean's been there. It's at that level, been there for like 13,000 years. Like, and these just dive off into the ocean. I mean,
yeah,
okay.
I have pictures of that as well. Let's see. I can't actually control the direction. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. So, some of these, as you can see here, they go through pretty steep, deep. Like, is this really a canyon, or did somebody actually cut this? Oops.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
these images.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Now this one, I'm not sure. This is what I want to look at, right? So this is some of these ruts in Cappadocia, and I want to find the ones that have this profile where you can. It looks like splash.
It does
marks.
Look like splash. Yeah.
Like it's got this ridge, And so
it looks like someone fired a friggin' ion cannon through it.
Right. Yes. And it's hard to tell with this photo. There are better pictures of this somewhere online. I couldn't find them for the live stream, but I'm going to find the sites and take pictures. There's this ripple along the right side that basically you can imagine if you had a fat like tire of some kind running through pretty wet mud, that it would make this splash ripple along the side. And it's been preserved somehow, right? So I don't know. This is one of the reasons why I want to go here.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. I have nothing to. I bring nothing to the table for cart ruts. I'm just fascinated
Chad Hopkins,
by it.
fired unicycle path. That's what that is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, yes. So
on fire.
another interesting thing is that almost
wire on a candle. Yeah.
pretty much all of the cart ruts are twin ruts that are the same width. They turn. They follow their own the path. There's always two of them. Sometimes the ruts are crossing each other or splitting
like
away.
railway tracks. Yeah.
But supposedly somewhere here in the Phrygian Valley, there's a single rut. Like somebody was like, okay, the one guy had a motorcycle, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I'm really stoked to go here because I've been trying to look at this with pictures from afar for a long time. So I'm excited to get there. I'm gonna fly the drone. I'm gonna LiDAR scan everything I can, get tons of good video and pictures.
What else did we? I want to see.
So
you went past some here.
yeah, that's just more.
Yeah, so that's like the joining. Yeah, that's where they. It's like a railway track.
So
right? It's just like how that shit works. Same thing.
Just, but the weird thing is they don't. Unlike railroad tracks, the railroad wheels are tapered so that they can go around that curve and move, so they don't get that doubling. But how do you do that without?
And you better not be moving fast when you hit that turn. It's
Right.
pretty sharp. If
it is.
you got a megalithic block on your cart,
That's an abrupt angle change.
And you hit
It's
that
not
turn,
like a smooth angle. It's like a sharp,
acute.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna lose it. Yeah.
And then it's like how big or how high is the axle here? You got some serious clearance,
right.
Then if you get wide enough, like the wheels have to be big enough to bring your clearance up this high. Then you can go around a sharp corner.
Yeah.
With it that
axle's
deep, that doesn't
grinding.
make any sense because the wheel has to be this
Massive,
wide.
yeah.
So then you need a wider trench to go around the corner. It just doesn't make sense, man.
My Jeep has 40-inch tires on it, and I'm pretty sure I'd be dragging an axle if I was trying to drive through that.
Yeah, and if you
just from the look of it,
if you got big enough tires to where you weren't dragging an axle, then you try to turn in the
Right,
trench,
and it gets jammed.
and the
then
wheel
you
can't.
jam it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's all sorts of problems with it.
So again, here, this is this is called the Phrygian Stone Road Trail. So there's actually a hiking trail that just goes along a really long set of tracks in the stone that go through these that look like, I don't know, I find it hard to believe that this is actually a canyon. We're gonna have to see the geology when we get out there. It's difficult to tell from photos, but is it possible that this was actually cut?
The whole
thing,
kind of like the highway, kind of like we do on highways today. Yeah.
Or for trains, so that you don't have too steep of a, of a grade to go up and down. You just cut your way through that rough stuff so that you got a nice smooth. It looks like train tracks going through a mountainous area.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Now,
Yeah, it's going to be fun to look at it for sure.
Yeah,
See if there's
so-
any signs of that.
Mike from Wandering Wolf, he's been to Malta, he's looked at these, and like him and this other guy that he's working with, somebody who's doing, he's been taking LiDAR of the stuff, and he says that he's getting some analysis done of the scans. He thinks that they may all be connected to quarries somehow. The question is like, we were looking at these ones in Austin.
Okay.
And we know that a lot of the ruts in Malta seem to originate at or end at quarries. But, Malta's tiny and the place is covered in quarries, so it's hard to tell if that's really what's going on, but it's possible. So the question is there a quarry anywhere in this area? I've done some looking. I've had almost no luck finding any actual academic papers written about this site. I'm looking forward to visiting the place, asking, our buddy Ramazan if there's anything he knows of or anyone he knows of. Can he point me to some papers? Maybe they're not in English. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to see what work has been done on this. But yeah, this is going to be great to visit out here, and it's remote, and it'll be a lot of fun.
It'll be fun. Yeah. It's quite a rabbit hole, the car thing. Yeah, this will be my introduction to it. I've not seen it. I know you've been out and chasing it down for a while, but God.
Yeah.
It'd just be fun to get some data. And we can LiDAR scan some of this and try to add to that data as well. Like I'll bring I imagine you guys will bring the LiDAR gear and I will too.
Yeah.
And drone as well.
Yeah.
And I'm probably going to bring a drone to Peru here shortly too. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Definitely going to do that as well.
Yes. And yeah, just a brief aside, Russ and I are heading down to Peru pretty shortly here to basically organize a tour in Peru. We're going to probably run that maybe October this year, looks like, and then an extension to Easter Island. So people have been wanting me to do that for a while, and I've been waiting for Peru to open up post-COVID, and we're going to go scope it out. And I've got some good people down there that I'm looking forward to working with, so I'm going down there in a couple of weeks just to organize it and hopefully put something on the books.
Yeah.
It'll be awesome.
It's going to be fun. And I'm going to I'll have some Peru photos of my own. I don't have to steal them from people anymore. Yeah.
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait. I've got it, and it's going to be different too. Like I want to take people to Chavin. It's going to be we're going to visit quarries, but there's going to be a bit of hiking. We're going to go maybe hike to the Alante Tambo quarry, where all the massive stones and like along the path where they drop stones off. Like there's a few spots where they never made it up the hill. Like they definitely got a bunch of them up the hill to Alante Tambo. These 70, 80 ton granite blocks. But there's also ones that are sort of dropped off on the way, and then into the quarry.
The tired stones, or is that what they?
Lazy stones.
Lazy stones, yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot around that lazy stone legend. There's a massive stone at Sacsayhuaman, supposedly also a lazy stone that killed some people, but when they tried to move it, the Inca tried to move it. Anyway, that's another a different topic for all of this. But that's cool, man. Thanks for that. I mean that's great. That I am fascinated by these cart ruts too. I can't wait to see it. So the other place that we're going back to that I'm also excited about getting back to, well, many of these places, obviously Göbekli Tepe, Karahan. We haven't really talked about those here.
Lots of work's been done at Karahan since we were there too. I'm stoked to see what they're doing.
Yeah, and someone else mentioned that. I think you got a comment about it being like this, the amount of sites that they're discovering in that area, turning it into some sort of multi-generational thing. I think that's absolutely true. I think what we're seeing in southeastern Turkey is evidence for civilization. Like I just don't think there's any other way around it. When you had Göbekli Tepe and they're like, well, it's a ceremonial site, hunter-gatherers, feast site, whatever. Then you've got Karahan Tepe. It's like, here's another one, and this one's 5 times bigger than Göbekli Tepe. It's older. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, there are permanent dwellings at Göbekli Tepe, too.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. And it's just like,
now they're calling it the Taj Tepeler civilization.
Yeah,
Taj Tepeler civilization. That's what it is. Because, I mean,
Stone Hills Civ.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I love that, man.
How many sites? How many sites? Do you hit like 12, 40, 80? I mean, I hear
I've heard it, yeah.
From 12 to 80.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
But a lot. It's a lot.
You can get on Google Earth and you can cruise around the Stone Hills there, the Taj Tepeler, and you can see, I think, fairly easily where those sites would be, because I guess maybe you look, I'm thinking about when we were there, but they're green and they're like high up on the hill, and they're green because of the midden.
Right.
So they have lots of grass, or they have trees. So if you're looking at the top of a normal hill that has no archaeological site, or very little, like at Sogmatar, there were temples built at the tops of hills. They didn't have midden. It was just a quarry and stacked rock, so there was no midden there. But I think that that Sogmatar was much more recent. This was square stone blocks. It looked like.
Well, I'm not sure about. I'm going to talk about Sogmatar in a minute.
Yeah, I think
it may be connected to that stuff. I don't know.
I'm just going to say that the quarrying style matched that of that.
Nick, thanks.
Of that quarry that we went to near Göbekli Tepe. That was like square cut stones.
Yeah,
the quarries were like right next to these buildings. Now, I'm not saying that the middle mound was not much more ancient. Like I would be willing to believe that middle mound. But the little temples that were built out on the rock around they were just square quarry blocks. Now, maybe there were caves under the ground.
Yeah, they were put there for a reason.
Yeah. I'm just talking about the construction level. I think those construction, there's contextual evidence that construction style was later.
I agree. No,
still
with
6,000 years old, but later.
Later. It should be young. Who cares? Only 6,000 years old.
Yeah, not the Taj. That's what I'm saying. Not the Taj Tepe civilization.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
But
it's not.
My point is that when you're looking at Google Earth, you can see tops of hills, lots of grass or trees. Most likely, that's a gigantic midden mound, and you can see it clearly from Google Earth. And then you'll see little white dots, and those white dots are much more modern. No, the white dots are much more modern, like the sheep herders stacked rocks in these little round pyres that they would use for shade because there's nothing there for shade.
Right.
They would stack up the rocks. That's what they told us. So you'll see like white dots and grass, and it's the top of a hill.
Yeah.
So check it out.
You can probably go walk around and stub your toe on a top of a
T-pillar for sure. Yeah. I don't know
what you do at Karahan. So.
Yeah. Hey, thanks again, Antonio. Again, man.
Yeah,
thank
bro.
you, buddy. Yeah. Final donation tribute. He says.
I got my soundboard working, bro. Appreciate it. Ben can't hear it, but
whatever. That's all right. I'll give him a round of applause here as well.
No, see that. Now your mic's gone weird.
Yeah, the round of applause didn't come through on our end.
Yeah.
Screwed it up.
And we got another one. Commander Xander.
$50 straight to pyramids. Woo! Thank you.
Straight to pyramids.
Excellent.
Let me seeing as we did sort of segue into Sogmatar.
Yeah.
But let me jump into Sogmatar because where did I put it is the question. Actually, we want to look at
Are we done with this? Should I stop this share?
Yeah. I'm going to Sogmatar. And I'm sharing. I don't know if you can see it. But this
I'm
is
switching over to it.
Flipping over to it. Yeah.
It's a pretty cool new feature.
Here we go.
Zoom. Yeah. Like it.
Yeah, so these are those caves, right? This is like because Sogmatar is let me pull up this around here. So Sogmatar has 7 structures, right? It's a hill that's surrounded by there's a central structure and then it's surrounded by 7 of these little temples or structures that are on these bare rock hills which you can see here. So
no midden. That's all I want to point out.
Midden, right.
That's all I'm pointing out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is the modern village, and then you can see onto the right over here is this structure, this man-made giant structure that's in the center of it, which the late great Chuck Apps, rest in peace, buddy, thinks it is probably a pyramid. It seems to be a pyramid-like structure.
I'm looking at the village. Oh, okay. Now we're seeing the cave.
Yeah, so this is in the cave. I'm just going to flip through these to. This is like in some of these caves that are carved out here, and this was. Maybe I should. yeah. There's Sonny. Yeah. Let me flip through these real quick. Get to some. There's George. So yeah, these are the caves that are riddled around these limestone hills that are pretty much everywhere. Let me read a little bit about this from Ancient Origins, which has a good little overview article on it. Sogmatar is about 57 kilometers from the ancient city of Haran. It flourished as a cultural center and holy city during the time of the Abgar dynasty of Edessa from the 2nd century BC to the 3rd century AD. Among the ruins in Sogmatar are the remains of walls and turrets on the main hill that date to the 2nd century AD. A sanctuary to the planets is also found on the hill. Among the gods worshipped in the city are the principal deities from the surrounding cultures, such as Sin, the Mesopotamian moon god, whose main site of veneration was Haran. So Haran's nearby. We visited Haran.
Yep. That was an amazing site too.
That was, yeah. I can actually show like a drone video flying over that as well. But what they say about this is that the main temple at Sogmatar, which still stands today, was an open-air temple where sacrifices were held. The temple was built on a hill which is surrounded by the ruins of 7 large buildings which may have had religious significance. If these 7 structures are associated with the temple, they may represent the 5 planets visible in antiquity and
cool.
the sun and moon.
Freaking awesome. Yeah.
It is not clear if there are any astronomical alignments associated with the hill or the 7 structures surrounding it. This is the hill.
That's the hill.
That's it.
Pretty much a man-made.
Dude.
It's certainly built on the sides of it, but could well be a pyramid-like structure. Don't really know. You dig into it, it looks like blocks come out of it.
Yep.
It's yeah.
The nearby
midden.
subterranean.
I mean, it's,
hey?
yeah.
Maybe what?
Blocks and midden.
Midden.
Yeah.
Covered in
Blocks and
midden.
midden. Yeah.
Which similar to the Taj Templaire sieve. So
Yeah. So the nearby subterranean temple, which contains definite references to the planets and the moon god, however, make it probable that this sacred hill involved worship of the celestial bodies. This makes the site potentially important for the study of ancient astral religion. And they say the site was also important for ancestor worship, which is an odd combination. If paired with the worship of the moon and the planets, it's not something people would... You generally have one or the other, it doesn't seem like.
Yeah.
But this site seemed to have both. Let's see.
They think that because of what? Because
the tombs found on the side of the hill
burials.
contain artifacts and human remains that predate the Hellenistic period. So it actually could be older. That's the other thing that they're saying.
Okay.
They don't really know. The remains in the tombs date to the Bronze Age. It's possible that the ancestor worship predates the religious focus on the celestial bodies, and that which only began really in the Hellenistic period. On the other hand, because of the diversity of religious practices in Hellenistic cities, it's possible that ancestor worship and astral religion were both prominent in the city simultaneously. So it's an interesting site. Like there's a lot more to this yet. So it's basically this one central.
Go back a couple photographs to the wall. Yes, this. Okay, so you can see on the right side there these 2 lines that are carved into the stone, kind of going away from you, kind of like cart ruts.
Yeah.
That's part of the grid of the cutting of the stones, and you can see at the top left there of this wall, there's a stone taken out of the middle. There's like another stair step.
Yep.
So they were taking these, rectangular prisms, stones, ashlars or whatever you want to call them, out of the mountain here. And there was a clear style of cutting these roughly 4 to 6 inch wide trenches into the stone in a grid pattern, a rectangular grid pattern, and removing the stones that way. We found multiple quarries like this. And if you went to any of the 7 temples around the central mound, you would find small quarries just like this next to the temple. So they literally quarried the stone right out of the mountain and built the temple right there. I mean, they were barely moving them. That's why I think this is not connected to the Taj Templaire civilization. It's just such a different style.
It may not be, I make no claims about the temples around this.
Yeah.
Around this central mound. I'm particularly interested in this central mound.
Me too.
Yeah.
I think the mound is probably much older.
At least what's at the center bottom of it is probably incredibly ancient. Yeah.
It could be.
It's also in the middle. It's a place where the river split around it.
I mean, this is a tell too, right?
Yeah.
Like this is so much like
it's a tell.
What we would see at Göbekli Tepe or Karahan Tepe.
Yeah. And so Chuck looked into this a lot, and again, this is CF Apps. His channel's still out there. I mean, he unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago. A good friend of mine was one of the guys who got me started in this field, to be honest. And so he has looked into this. There's a lot of things that have been written about Sogmatar, and there is a connection to Egypt here as well, as in particular Giza with the pyramid, and there have been things said about Sogmatar for centuries. In fact, Chuck thinks there's a good chance that the Sabians, which we'll talk about, this was a particular religious sect mentioned in the Quran, of these Gnostic slash, star worshippers that come from the Mesopotamian times were here, and they may well have taken some things from Egypt and stored them here. This is actually a site that could be a potential sort of hall of records for any precursor civilization. And so there was a guy called Al-Masudi who wrote a text in 879 AD, so 1200 years ago, that was called the Meadows of Gold, and in a chapter in it he was talking about it was called Sacred Buildings and Monuments of the Sabians of Haran, and of course this site's kind of connected to Haran because it's nearby. And he wrote about an artifact that was found at Sogmatar, and it was like a plaque, and there was a brass ring with this plaque, and it carried the signs of ancient writing. And this is what was written on it, as reported by Masudi. Quote, "This pit lead to the Hall of Records, in which all the wisdom of the world is kept since time immemorial. Here is preserved the history of the world, the science of heavens, and the hidden secret of all things past, present, and future. In this pit lie all the treasures of the world, but whoever wishes to be worthy of it must be our equal in power, wisdom, and science. Whoever is able to do so, then he will know himself as one of our kind. But beware, shall you not be worthy? Because you will learn how much more profound is our wisdom, broader our science, and impenetrable our vigilance." So,
Wow.
yeah, this was written at something on Sogmatar that was discovered 1,200 years ago and translated and recorded by this guy. So it kind of gets even more interesting. As you dig into this, it's like, well, okay, who are the Sabians? And we talked about this a little bit before the stream, but the Sabians of Haran were essentially a religious group. They're mentioned in the Quran, but they're often associated with the Gnostics. They're people of the book is how they describe themselves. Yeah. Sorry, what'd you say?
I was just like,
Yes.
people of the book.
Yeah.
Yes.
Of course.
Astronomers.
The keepers of knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah, so, and this is, if you look up who the Sabians of Haran were, they were adherents of a poorly understood ancient Semitic religion centered on the Syriac Christian hagiographies as star worshippers. So they were into this, like the heavens, and they were worshipping stars. They practiced an old Semitic form of polytheism combined with a significant amount of Hellenistic elements. So there's an interesting connection to these guys. So, they have historical figures that came from these cults in the 9th to 11th centuries. You have notably, there's Haranian astronomers and mathematicians that were noted figures kind of in that Arab in the Arab world that were known to live around that time, that were part of this cult. So they were definitely a knowledge cult, it seems like to me. It's like they were like a serpent cult, I guess, right? They understood the heavens. They seem to have this connection to the past. And the one thing else I'll mention here is that there's definitely a connection to Egypt, which I'll get to, but one of the other things that's known around this region, and there's some evidence for this, but it's something also that Chuck talked about, is that the Knights Templar were pretty active in this region, right? They were definitely all over Haran. They were doing what they were doing, which they were digging around looking for ancient valuable relics and doing that sort of stuff. So the Knights Templar in later periods were actually in this area. They're very interested in this region. And, funnily enough, there was a study done by the Department of Medical Sciences out of the University of Trieste in Italy that was an archeoacoustic analysis of a temple in the ancient site of Sogmatar in southeastern Turkey. And this is archeoacoustics. You probably like this, Kyle. Let me switch back over. I'll stop this share. I think I'm done with pictures. I'm just going to run back to the big screen. But before I read what they said about this actual study, this study provides another quote from that same Al-Masudi document, which was the ancient Arab historian and geographer. The Meadows of Mold, and this is another one of his works, the Meadows of Gold and Mines of Gems. And this is what he wrote about Sogmatar in that same chapter, Sacred Buildings and Monuments of the Sabians of Haran. This is a crazy passage. I thought this is really interesting, which when you combine it with the Templars and potentially this connection to the pyramid, this is what he wrote. At the extreme boundaries of the earth stands an ancient temple, which is round and has 7 doors on each side and a lofty dome, which has also 7 sides, and is famous throughout the land for its extraordinary height and admirable construction. On top of the dome is a kind of precious stone or crystal as large as a bull's head, dispelling darkness for a great distance. Many great kings of old have tried to get hold of this stone, but with no success. All those who tried fell lifeless at a distance of 10 feet. Even if one used spears, arrows, or other similar contrivances, these similarly stop and fall midair at a distance of 10 feet. To this date, there is no means for a man to get hold of this stone. Those so daring or foolish to think they could demolish the temple would be struck by instant death. Certain sages explained this phenomenon as being caused by certain magnetic stones placed at a regular distance all around the temple.
Man.
And interestingly, part of the study that they ran at this site, this archeoacoustic study, they also did magnetic studies, and they identified strong magnetic fields that are basically without explanation at their site. They just report that yes, there's a bunch of magnetic anomalies on this site. Yeah, so the preliminary study found some interesting peculiarities that confirm a deep knowledge of resonance phenomenon at frequency suspected to affect brain activity. And on a sidewall, we also identified a strong magnetic field that is without explanation. So, yeah,
That's
and then
cool.
the study gets into like what they did and where they went with it and everything else. I don't really know what else to say about it.
There's also that well on the site. Remember?
Yeah.
It's a giant hole
well.
just like straight down through the bedrock, and there's water way the hell down there. It's like a, you think of a shaft in the Giza Plateau. It's like similar.
Yeah,
Who
it's
knows
weird.
what's down at the bottom of that thing, man.
Yeah.
It's like these Sabians had a connection to Giza. I mean, even if you read Fingerprints of the Gods, Graham Hancock wrote about the connection between the Sabians and the Egyptians at Giza. So you just sort of got to wonder, did they bring something out of Egypt or out of Egypt's where Egypt was formed from, nomadic records, that sort of stuff, and stored them at this location where they stayed at? It's like a almost similar to the Grail Trail or the Ark of the Covenant Trail. Like Sogmatar's this crazy spot, and there's this one
awesome.
big pyramid-like thing in the center that seems to have all these ancient mysteries around it and ancient stories around it. So again, it's one of those sites I want to get back to because I knew nothing about it the first time I went there, and
I want to do the
I've since
hike.
done a lot of research.
The hike from Sogmatar to Karahan. Like
It's up to the like I think it's northeast of there.
Dang, man.
Yeah.
I would like to beautiful because you're cruising out we go to these sites and you're just rolling through these hills and it's just
I'll share some pictures.
the view and everything. It's just so fantastic all the way. The drives that we take. Now I want to point out before you change pictures real quick.
Oh, sorry.
That
I'll go back.
that is a good example for the people who want to like cruise Google Earth of what I'm talking about. You can see the mound there, how green that mound is. Now, obviously, it had just rained, so that's not always going to be green in Google Earth, but it's very distinct from the surrounding landscape
Which
because
is basically
it has
exposed
foliage.
bedrock. Yeah.
It's all exposed bedrock. So the mounds, the midden, and the tells will all look slightly different.
Yeah.
So you should be able to see them from pretty high up on Google Earth, and then you can zoom in and check and make sure, like, oh, is this what this is? And then, of course, you'll have the issue of sometimes people see valleys where they're mountaintops, and
Oh, yeah.
you got to make sure.
Turn the monitor upside down.
Yeah, if that's your problem, just hang upside down and scroll. But
Yeah. I mean, this is Karahan.
That's
right? This
Karahan.
is
I mean,
same thing. It's another thing. Mound.
nowhere nearby would a hill like that be green.
Right.
They're white. They're the color of the bedrock that the archaeologists have uncovered that area, and it's that light grayish blue color.
Yeah, I'm sure I can find pictures of the hills. I mean, maybe Göbekli Tepe, the Tepe stuff. But yeah, this is like generally you wouldn't normally see this much green on just the dirt in between the bare rock. This is from the recent rainfall, but yeah, this would normally be.
But
all
you'll
the
still
color
see
of the
like
stone.
a tan color of the brown grass,
color.
or this sort of
Exactly.
dead, dried up grass.
Yeah, this is the quarry at Karahan.
Yeah, all the locals when we were there before, they were always commenting on how, I mean, there were flowers. Everything was green.
It was
They were
so
like, it
beautiful.
never looks like this. Like this is very rare. So
yeah, this is
magical.
good. Like this is you, Kyle, and you can literally see standing in a section where there's all these T-pillars poking up out of the ground.
Is that me way down there?
Midden Hill. Yeah, this is you here.
Yeah.
Yep. And then as it drops down through this valley, you just see this bare bedrock hill on the other side. Like this is the Midden Mount right here.
Yeah, standing on Midden.
Mount. Standing on Midden.
The whole thing, all that green, is part of the Midden.
Look at the line of. There's a straight line of stones there too. Down at the below Kyle.
That's the sidewalk. The little
is
walkway.
that okay? They made a walkway.
They built this whole little stone walkway, sidewalk type of thing all the way across the whole site.
Yeah.
Are you sure? That's
Yes, I walked it.
Right.
Yeah,
I walked it.
Okay.
I don't know, bro.
I'm telling you.
It is beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, I can even show people the tour page if people want to see it. But like the itinerary of what we're doing.
Let's take a look at it.
Take a quick look.
There's some other, since we're going to the Phrygian Valley and to Cappadocia, there's like some other interesting sites aside from the cart ruts and Darren Q that we're going to see because we're over there as well. So
What in the hell? Why does
this here? So it's 13 days, and Yusuf's going to come with us. Hopefully, gets his visa organised. We can do that. Obviously, Göbekli Tepe's going to be part of it. We're starting in Şanlıurfa, which is like the biblical Odessa. It's Urda or Urfa. It's like this city's 10,000 years old, like literally, probably older. Stay at the Allahan
birthplace
Hotel,
of Abraham, all that kind of stuff, right?
Birthplace of Abraham, yeah, really important city to pretty much every book of the faith of the religion of the book. And last time we were there, the floods had prevented us from getting into the museum. So facts from Karahan and Göbekli Tepe are. This is like.
Oh man,
we were so bummed to miss
about
this the first time around. Yeah. So we're getting into this museum where there's amazing artifacts. I can't wait to see it.
Model.
It's only a model. Yes.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. Obviously, Göbekli Tepe we've also got special access to a nearby quarry. We kind of discovered this on Google Earth. Well, did discovered it. We noticed it on Google Earth, and it's right next to Göbekli Tepe. And then we pestered Ramazan until we could go see it. And we got out there, and it's a really interesting limestone quarry.
Yeah.
And we like quarries. So.
Not any information about it.
I think Jason had posted it in our Discord, remember? Right?
Yeah, Jason.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. That was thanks to Jason again.
Yeah,
and
bro.
then we got out there, and so we got special access. We kind of snuck in there last time. Now we have permission. We're going to go out there and see that again.
Didn't Ramazan break his car trying to find out if we could get up there?
He broke his car trying to get to. There's a big stone in another quarry near Göbekli Tepe.
Okay,
it was like a big one in it. And
Ramazan's cool. He broke
muffler.
his car trying to find out if he could get us up to a quarry. He's a great guy.
Yeah,
yeah, indeed. He's cool. Yeah, we're doing this with Ramazan again. So this is cool. So the next day we're doing Haran. We talked about Haran and Sogmatar. They're all out nearby. So
that structure is on the other side of the hill we were looking at. So it sticks out of the massive central mound on the other side.
This is Sogmatar. This is Haran, which was a giant walled city. Yeah. And in the center of it, where it's a modern town now too, but in the center is this huge area that you can explore, which has been rebuilt over several times. But you can see the remnants of these fortifications. Haran was a giant city back in the day.
Places of learning, right? University.
Yeah, I mean, very important early civilizational city. And then Şanlıurfa itself has a castle. The next day we're gonna hang out in town and then go off to Halfeti and do your cruise on the Euphrates, which is really nice. We do this nice spend a few hours on the river, eat some nice food, just hang out. There's actually structures that are built around on the banks of the Euphrates River. This cruise is a good time. We did this last time as well. We're going to do this again. Next day is going to be Karahan Tepe and the Bazda Caves, which I think looks like quarries to me.
Yeah, look at that.
These Bazda Caves are cool. Yeah, we've not been here before.
That's cool. No, they got the pillars in the center and stuff they left.
You know what it looks like? It looks like Longview Grottos.
Longview Grottos,
Caves,
that's what I was going to say.
Looks like Longview. Yeah. Super keen on that. Mm-hmm. And then we're off to Mount Nemrut the next day. So we drive for a couple of hours to get to Nemrut, and then we hike up a hill hopefully conditions allow us to do it, which will be fun. And then normally this was pretty much all we did. We did pretty much this on the last. So this time we're extending it. We're going out to Cappadocia. Which takes a day to get to Cappadocia. The next day, we're going to be exploring Derinkuyu, underground city. We're going to go see Ushisar Castle as well. This is all Derinkuyu. Then we drive off to the Phrygian Valley. We're going to go see the Ruts as well as Ayazini Metropolis, significant point in the Phrygian Valley.
Yeah, this rock cut stuff is going to be really interesting all over the place here.
Yep.
Is this the origin of the Phrygian cap? Is this the same?
The Phrygians, yeah. The Phrygians are from there, yeah.
So is this the origin of what is the guy who wears the Phrygian cap? The whole religion based on this guy.
The seafarers, you mean?
No, he's like he's sort of like a Jesus character.
The Phrygian cap. It's ringing a bell, but I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know what you're talking
Come on, guys. Randall talks
Chat.
about
Help me out, chat.
this dude a lot.
about.
Mithras, thank you.
Mithras. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Is that where he's from?
Smurfs. Peter
Phrygia?
Shell.
Smurfs.
Peter
The
Shell
Smurfs.
says it's the
Peter
Smurfs.
Shell.
Yeah.
There you go,
That's,
Smurfs.
Bingo.
Yeah.
That's what we were looking for, Peter. Thank you.
There you go. You guys know.
Anyways.
Yeah.
Mithras, yeah.
So yeah, UnchartedX.com/Turkey 2025, or just on my website you find the link to it. If you're interested in joining us in Turkey, it's going to be a good time.
Yeah, there's
Oh,
links
man, I
in our
can't wait.
there's links in the description of the live stream too. If you can just click on it, go look at it.
Yep.
There's other
same.
cool stuff, just aside from just going to the ancient sites, the whole cultural, getting embedded in the culture over there, Shanlurfa.
Yeah.
The food is awesome.
The food
the bazaar,
and
our
the
food is
bazaar,
really
just
good.
walking
Like
through
a-
the bazaar
a
and all the crazy
maze.
stuff.
It's like a labyrinth of shopping. It's really
Yeah.
cool to
You
go
go
through.
down and you feed the
Yeah.
fish,
Yeah, it's Fish Lake. It's the,
Fish Lake.
It's supposedly
Fish Lake.
where Abraham was. They tried to burn him, right?
Yeah,
The logs turned into
the
fish.
fish.
And,
And that's right.
And the fire was they tried. He wouldn't burn and
Yeah.
the fish were
Balicligo.
like-
It's obviously Balicligo.
yeah, whatever
What?
that means.
That's what they. Somebody was telling me when we were there. I don't remember where we were, but they were like, "You got to go visit." It was a Turkish guy, and he was like, "You must visit Balicligo." And I'm
Balicligo.
like, "What is this place?" And I'm like
Fish
trying
Lake.
to figure it out, and it's Fish Lake.
Yeah.
That's where
Well,
we'll
we
be.
do- Yeah, it's nice because it's all walking distance from this hotel. We're in like the nice part of Shanlurfa, and yeah, there's this giant bazaar that you can literally get lost in.
It's
just
awesome.
across the street, and it's a fun time getting lost in it. We figured out how to get out of there. It's like you need to start following the drains and
Yes.
use contours. You're either going up or down.
Right.
If you follow the drains, you'll get out.
Pay attention
Yeah.
to the drains, and when you need to get back to the hotel, go upstream.
Upstream. Yeah, you
Yeah.
eventually pop out on the street and you're like, find the hotel. Yeah.
There's also
It's
going to be
really
we're going to
cool.
be there's tons of hanging out. We're going to be jamming, wherever
Yep.
we get a chance.
Yep.
And there's
I want to sit in the little egg thing in the middle of the. Oh wait, that's the hypogeum. Never mind. Damn it.
That's
will get
Malta,
there
bro.
too.
We will go to Malta.
Yeah,
Malta's
eventually
gonna
we'll get
happen.
there.
He wants
Yeah,
to he wants to
Malta's
sit in the Oracle room.
Yeah,
in
let's
Malta.
play a song and let it go.
Everyone in the whole place can hear it. Yeah.
You can find a place like that in Derinkuyu.
Yeah.
Maybe. Well, we're going to find out. So, yeah, that's awesome. I thank you guys for hanging out today. I think that was
That was great. We can wrap it
good
up.
chat.
Yeah.
Much appreciated. One more thank you to
Nick.
is
Nick
that
again.
Nick?
And
Yeah.
Nick hit me up again too. So
Yeah,
let
so
me,
boy.
let's
He says Turkey or Peru. It'll be rad. Don't miss it. Yeah, for sure.
it's been nice to see there's been some action in the chat. I'll have to take a look at that. I couldn't keep up with it all, but thank
Yeah,
you.
there were
Thank you,
lots
everyone.
of there were lots of great questions in our chats too. Sorry if we missed some of them, guys. It was we had a lot of material to get through. But yeah, thanks for being here.
I'm not sorry. You were just trolling us.
There was a lot of trolling too. Yes.
There appears to have been some trolling in mine as well, from what I can tell. I'll get a readout from the mods later, but yeah, it's all good. It's all good. I am working on a bunch of content. Otherwise, I got a really interesting video about the so-called dendrolites that I want to get out. I've been the Vase stuff is a priority as well, but I this last trip we brought Professor Jabra, Muhammad Jabra, our hieroglyphic expert. We actually took him to Upper Egypt this time, and we went into the Dendera. He just ran us through everything that's written on the walls around those light bulbs in the crypts, and it was phenomenal. So
nice, excellent.
We're gonna get into that. Mystery solved.
Mystery solved.
Yep.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thanks to everybody who was watching, everybody in the chat, all the support, all the super chats, and everybody who supports the show, both UnchartedX and Brothers of the Serpent. We love you guys.
Always have.
Always will.
Good night, Atamu.
Get back to work.
Yeah.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Bye-bye now.